Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the garden, our peaceful place for pondering that crazy world out there. You're catching me a little off the cuff today because I could not help myself. Last week's video got lost in the ether. It disappeared while it was uploading on Loom, so you can't even blame YouTube. But like this morning, I feel like the Young Turks gave me an early birthday present. Because you know how we've all been having this conversation for several years now? Well, thanks to Dave Chappelle, a lot of mainstream people are dipping their toe into this conversation. And oh man, they have no idea how late they are. But before we jump in, please like the video if you like this kind of stuff and subscribe to the channel to let me and the algorithm both know that very strongly. Thank you so much for your support. Let's see what they got, shall we?
The stand-up. Dave Chappelle's a funny guy, but he's been a little bit obsessive with the topics of the LGBTQ community and what he feels is unnatural and crazy and strange. Let's listen to what he had to say in this particular clip.
Clips. I just want to say real quick, they actually allude several times to the fact that they did not actually watch the damn special.
They've canceled people that are more powerful than me. Canceled J.K. Rowling. My God, J.K. Rowling wrote all the Harry Potter books by herself. And they canceled her because she
not
said
sure if that's a joke or not.
Not exactly what she said, but effectually she said gender was a fact.
No, she said sex is a fact. Okay, and this is the first of many, many times that those two things are going to just be completely conflated here. And as we'll see, the Young Turks are going to try and argue it both ways. It's really fun.
And then the trans community got mad. They started calling her a TERF. I didn't even know what that was. But I know that trans people make up words to win arguments. TERF is an acronym. Stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. This is a real thing. Now, I shouldn't speak on this because I am not a woman, nor am I a trans. But as we've established, I am a feminist.
Which is, debatable. He considers himself a feminist, though, so that's why he considers this, something that he should be paying attention to. And, it is. So however he gets there, it's something everyone should be paying attention to. They're going to go on and on for a while, though, about why he cares. And he actually gives several reasons for caring just here, much less in the special. If you actually watch it at the end, his main point all comes back around to what he considers his people, okay? Because he talks about how the trans community is vile and just hurtful to even its, people who consider themselves a part of it.
I'm Team Turf. I agree, man. Gender is a fact. You have to look at it from a woman's perspective.
Yeah.
Gender is a fact. This is a fact. Every human being in this room, every human being on earth had to pass through the legs of a woman to be on earth. That is a fact.
Now, my first immediate thought was, well, wait, C-sections? But that's a quibble, I think. He's being glib here, but we all came from a woman, is what he's saying.
I'm having trouble quitting Dave Chappelle, although some have already.
Some have.
We're seeing a lot more and more of stand-up specials and comedians looking more like preachers and motivational speakers and political pundits and anything else. Yes, politics and society and rules and all that stuff have always been a part of comedy. So I'm not saying that. It's just what seems to be more of like an anger and an attack is more of the energy we're getting lately. Now,
right, because comedians have never been angry before. Here, after a while, we're going to get to compare Dave Chappelle to George Carlin, who literally would just get up on stage and be angry for an hour and a half.
Yeah. For the rest of the special.
And there's like no line that's actually drawn here. They're literally just going, kind of saying, well, I don't like this. I don't think it's funny. And so that apparently is some sort of grand rubric we must all measure him by.
Had plenty of funny jokes and plenty of things that had to do with lighthearted topics, or even probably serious topics that he took a lighthearted approach to.
But he doesn't know because he didn't watch it.
But there's this weird grievance going on, and people feel this need to have to tell everyone how right they are and how wrong everyone else is around them. And that I'm just saying because I said so. Who the f- are you? Like, why does anyone who's trans give what you said? I don't understand why then they will listen to you and you.
That's a really good question. Why is anyone who's trans, why do they care what Dave Chappelle thinks? Could it be because he's right and someone might listen to him?
He said, it's just what it is. And they go, oh, didn't think that till Dave Chappelle said so. Where's the authority come from?
Where's yours?
If you want to argue a point and have a debate and talk all that, throw some facts behind it.
Which is exactly the same that could be said of these people who proceed to spend the next, over 10 minutes giving us their opinion and absolutely zero statistics whatsoever.
Do something else that would be like, maybe I'm going to convince someone so that my point of view becomes the norm, becomes the thought process that everyone has, because, man, people have gone off the rails. They're crazy. Let me give you some facts and figures and some reality based off of why this is the case. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No, Chappelle does back up his arguments, though, which if you watched the special, it's pretty anecdotal evidence, but he does give you some.
So,
unlike you
I'm
people,
going to propose something radical here, that we can say that Dave Chappelle is totally wrong and ignorant on this, which he most certainly is, which I'll prove in a second. But we don't have to go to hating him forever. So we don't.
Okay, so Cenk is arguing that we should all just agree to disagree, which sounds very reasonable, right? He comes on so reasonable, and he acting so calm and reasonable, and he's not actually being either.
Don't have to go to canceling him. We can say, hey, you know what, Dave, you're an idiot on that, and then maybe watch the special. And if it's not funny for the third time, I didn't think the last two were funny. Then we go, okay, well, I'm not watching him, not because I have some sort of policy, but because the last two were kind of a bore. Why were they a bore? It's because of what Jared's talking about. Politics and social commentary is so deeply ingrained in comedy forever, and it should be. But you ain't George Carlin. Sorry. He was the best at it.
Right, yeah. But, unfortunately, he is deceased. Because I love the sort of secondary implication here that Carlin would be trans affirming. I don't think that's what Cenk actually means to say here, but damn, that's funny.
And this isn't just about Dave Chappelle. They're almost about half of them are obsessed with this now.
Yeah, well, I'd really love to let this go myself. And I probably would, because goodness knows I have enough other things to worry about in my life. Except that they took my legal status and protections from me. And my daughters. So yeah, I'm going to be a little preoccupied with that until we manage to fix it.
And they forgot to be funny. So they'll come on, they're like,
that's why you're mad, right? You didn't think it was funny.
Just to be anti-trans. Watch me do it. Oh, I'm so cool. I'm pushing your buttons. Okay, trans people, you're not a fact. Oh yeah. Do I get an award for courage? Do I get it? When do I get it? When do I get the Purple Heart? Right? No, you don't get it, Dave. By the way, where the was the joke? Okay. I didn't see a single joke in there, right?
Right, because that was like a few minutes of an hour plus long show. Okay. Every single line cannot be a punchline. And some of the best punchlines come at the end of what seems to be a long, aimless ramble. Okay, I've watched more than a few stand-ups in my life. Come on, Cenk.
I watched the longer part, and
a longer part.
Like the Caitlyn Jenner thing was a quarter funny. And by the way, guys, I'm not against trans jokes.
But you're not a comedian either. So again, where does the authority come from? Who in the hell are you to say what's funny and what isn't?
Muslim. I'm not against Muslim jokes. I tell you all the time. Like there was this a couple of years after 9/11, I went to a thing, comedy show. This guy's ripping Muslims, but in a hilarious way. He didn't mean it. I know.
Okay, so he thought it was funny. It didn't offend him personally, and so that is the standard.
know when people mean it, right? I know when people
You
are
do,
just
huh?
making
You always
jokes.
know what
Maybe
other
they're
people are
part of the
thinking. That's
family and they're
amazing.
friends
You
and
should
they're
be a
joking around.
psychic, not a
But
news
Dave don't look
presenter.
like he's part of the family anymore, right? And I don't mean some sort of liberal family and, oh, now we're going to banish him. You will now go into the lip woods, right? No, I mean part of the family, like, hey, we're all friends here and we make jokes about each other and that's okay. But no, that stuff he said about it's a fact that there are genders. That's third grade Ben Shapiro stuff.
Here we
Okay,
go.
that's embarrassing. So let me show you how simple it is to get rid of that stupid argument.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to see just how ignorant this man is about this and just how little actual thought he's put into it? Let's go.
He said, "Oh, when you come out of we all come out of a woman. That's a fact. Oh, genders are real. That's a fact. Okay, that's a fact." And then people then identify as the other gender.
Meaning what?
That's also a fact.
Okay. People can identify as whatever they want, and their belief of that, they can really believe that. That doesn't make it true.
What, they're lying? They change their whole lives? They change sometimes their anatomy? Because they're what? It's not a fact? They're all lying? By the way, ironically, you know what that sounds like? It sounds like racists who said, oh, no, black people aren't being abused by cops. All black people are lying.
No, it really doesn't sound like that at all. and he's about to go even deeper into the whole trans versus race thing, or sex versus race thing in a minute, which is just hilarious. But like, saying that what they believe is impossible is not calling them liars.
Right?
No.
All trans people are lying about what they feel inside and what they actually
That's a fun straw man you've got there, though.
No, it's a fact that people were born one way. It's a fact that certain people feel a different way. It's a fact in how they've lived their lives. Just leaving it at fact A is so stupid. I mean, everybody's born with these, so I must be right.
That's not what he said.
Okay, maybe that's funny, but accidentally.
No, because you're not a comedian.
You don't have to. And by the way, I hate cancel culture when it
you
makes
do?
no sense.
Oh.
You're canceling people for something they said when they were 17 years old or 1937. Well, 37 would have been a bad year. But this isn't that. He just said it, and he means it, and it doesn't make a difference? Yes, a lot.
Okay, so cancel culture is perfectly fine. Which I could have sworn they say in here somewhere the cancel culture doesn't exist. So that's fun. But his argument here is that it's fine to absolutely shun someone if it's a current thing that offends you.
A lot of people look up to Dave Chappelle, and they can't do what I'm doing right here, which is like, hey, I like his old stuff. I like some of his new stuff, but that stuff is right there is ignorant. They think, oh, Chappelle said it must be true.
Wait, why can't they do that? Are they stupid? What are you saying?
He's the brave one. You're not brave, you're just stupid.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so he started the segment all reasonable, right? Trying to be like, oh, his issue is that this just isn't funny. Where are the jokes at? But now we're calling Dave stupid because you're obviously so well versed in all this.
Yeah, I want to say
and
first,
she's
I'm
just
3
the
for
best.
3 and 3 times on the power panel. Not yet once have I accidentally tripped up and sworn. So a big you to Dave Chappelle for all of this nonsense. It's I love when
which I'm suddenly drawn back to the question of why anyone cares what he thinks on this topic, unless he's right.
Comedians do that thing where they're like, people get canceled. I really shouldn't say this. I'm filming my Netflix special, but here's some bigotry. Like, it's to drive engagement. It's to create a controversy.
Right, because that's Dave Chappelle's whole thing, right? That's why he walked away from his television show when it was the most successful thing on television. Yeah. That's why, he comes out and says all this stuff just off the cuff and quite frankly exposes himself as having not really done, the depth of research that maybe one should into a situation that one is not directly involved in before talking about it in public. But there's mountains of evidence against this whole idea. It's so stupid. They always say this
you
too.
Want to be canceled because that's going to drive views because canceling doesn't really work. It's not a real thing.
There we go. Cancel culture is not a real thing, but it's okay when it offends you.
If now that he's got all this controversy around him, his special's getting more views.
What is she talking about? Dave Chappelle's been nothing but a controversy generator for the better part of 20 years.
I also want to say it's extremely sexist to reduce the value of women to their reproductive abilities.
Which is not what he did. He demonstrated our existence by citing our reproductive function. He did not say that's what makes women important. He said that's how you know that we exist.
Lots of cis women cannot give birth. Are they less of a woman because they can't give birth?
No, and no one is fucking saying that. Your hypothetical motherhood is enough to get you oppressed in many different places around the world.
Dave Chappelle, and it is not a fact that every
like FGM is done on little girls a lot of the time. Do they do that because they know they're fertile? No, they did it because they're female and they might be fertile someday.
A child comes out of a vagina. C-sections exist.
Genius point there. Brilliant.
That's a thing. And also, the person who is pregnant and giving birth might not identify as a woman.
Does that mean that the canal the child comes through is not a vagina? That's actually an honest question because if hypothetically one did not identify as a woman, does that mean... Sometimes people will say this, oh, my man period, blah, blah, blah. Is there another name? And front hole, right? But it's not even the front hole. That's so dumb.
They could identify as non-binary. They could identify as a man or whatever they want to be because gender is, factually, a social construct.
Right, but that argument that you just made demonstrates how sex isn't. Because it doesn't matter how that person identifies. They're pregnant. And only women can get pregnant.
It's not something you're not. And we know this because throughout history, there's been different conceptions of what gender is, and different cultures are.
Yes, the social roles the sexes are expected to perform tend to change as society changes. But somehow, really, you want to go back to history? People in history knew who the women were, didn't they? They knew who to trap inside the home and who to exclude from education, right? They knew who we were.
Different conceptions of what gender is,
but not different conceptions of what the sex was. Because are we talking about social roles, or are we talking about reproductive role? Y'all have no idea, do you?
Ultimately, he called himself a feminist and then said some extraordinarily sexist bull. So, and also TERF is a real thing. J.K. Rowling is a TERF from the island of TERFs, where the TERFs congregate to do TERFism.
Hallelujah! So mote it be. Praise wokeism.
That's the UK.
But the Young Turks is not a good show. I wouldn't recommend it.
We should start one. That would be so funny.
Yes. So, look, again, all of this is so childish because, did you know God created us with different genitalia?
No. Dave Chappelle didn't say anything about God, Jank. At all. Why are you bringing that into it?
Yeah, I win. Well, we're animals. There are animals that switch their genders.
Yeah, there are also animals that regularly eat their young or their mating partner. Are we to encourage that behavior as well? There are animals who migrate from one continent to another every 6 months. Are we to encourage humans to do that? What are you talking about? That's not a point. That makes no sense. That is so transparently shallow and just stupid. That's a stupid point.
This is like really stupid right-wing stuff, like, God did not create anybody gay.
Again, he didn't say anything about God, but I do want to take this moment to point out to everyone who seems to have forgotten about this that Dave Chappelle is a Muslim convert.
Yeah, he did. Why are they that? Why do they, like, again, they're not lying. They're guys who are into other guys, and they can prove it. So, and they exist in nature.
But how would you know by looking at them? Because they could both be women. You don't know.
Lots of them. And there are also gay penguins. I mean, we have to say the most obvious things in the world. There are other animals that switch genders. Why do they do that? Because it's...
Maybe you shouldn't have stuck to saying the most obvious things and actually done a little bit of reading on this. Just thought. Because you're not proving anything.
Part of nature. It happens naturally. To think
so does arsenic.
That humans are a special kind of animal that would not have any issues with, like, not having clear genders. And as...
So are we talking about sex or are we talking about gender? Because you have no idea, do you? Okay, and humans are literally the only animal who has social roles as we know them, okay? Other animals do not wear special attire to signify their social role, okay? That's so stupid.
As Ravana pointed out, it's a human construct anyway. So if you don't know what that means, so race
Please
is a human
enlighten
construct.
us.
So what does that mean?
Oh boy,
are
race,
people
yeah.
Like, okay, somebody's either black or they're white. Are they? Think about it. We just call them black and we call them white, but it's kind of random. Italians are kind of brown. Mexicans are kind of brown. Turks are kind of brown, kind of white. Italians are kind of white. You know why? Because the northern Italians are right next to Switzerland.
Yeah.
So they seem whiter.
Ooh.
The southern Italians are next to Africa almost. And they seem more brown because they are. But they're all called white. Why? Because it's a thing that we...
At the moment, boy howdy, Italians did not used to be considered white in this country. Go back 100 years and, actually look at the history of the shit that you're talking about.
Constructed for us to categorize people in different ways.
Hell, 100 years ago, I wouldn't have been considered white because I look Irish. I'm not, by the way.
To make our lives simpler, but it has a lot of downsides. And gender is also a human construct. You are male, you are female, right? And so, well, what if you were like many other animals?
Okay, so gender or sex. Which is it?
You were born one way, but your mind thinks something else.
What animal does that? What animal have we managed to communicate with sufficiently to understand what the fuck is going on in their minds? What is he talking about?
Right? I mean, come on, this is so obvious. And
he has no answer to that because he stumbles and then just falls back on, haha, you're dumb.
The part about all this that actually I'm most disappointed at is that I thought Chappelle was smart. And I hope he is.
And I thought you were smart. Really, I enjoy this show a lot of the time. But like I say, they're very late to this conversation. They have no concept of what they're talking about. I personally have been arguing with people about this for over 6 years. So this is like shooting fish in a barrel for me. I started to make notes and ended up giving up on making the notes because I don't need them. This is... You want to talk about kid stuff? Oh my goodness. You can be more than one race at the same time because they're not actually different things. It's a lot harder to be more than one sex at the same time. Okay? Because if you have a Y chromosome, you're male. And if you don't, you're not. Regardless of whatever, androgen fun your body's had, if you have a Y chromosome and are insensitive to testosterone, you're going to look very female and be treated very female. And quite frankly, I would consider that person a woman because they've been female physically their whole life. But they're not. When you get down to the brass tacks, which y'all don't like to do because the brass tacks are just so big that they don't care what you think.
In other ways, right? I mean, it doesn't
get rid of all of his past work. I mean, you watch the Chappelle show from Comedy Central. That's still the best stuff on earth, right? And it does. We're not
But it
going to
doesn't offend you.
retroactively cancel his earlier funniness. Okay, at least I'm not, right? That stuff was funny, right? And that's when he was at his prime, and he was part of the family.
You know, it's very interesting how Dave didn't touch on any of this trans stuff back when he had his show on Comedy Central. It's almost as if this wasn't a part of the larger conversation at all.
And he made fun of the different races and different things and brought out truths with that humor. Now they're all stuck in a giant, ironically, genitalia measuring contest of who can be braver. Oh yeah, I'll piss other people off by being even...
Like, literally the only other person you've actually mentioned by name is George Carlin, who's dead. Who are you talking about?
Dumber than you. And they always say it like, watch this. I'm not supposed to say this.
And I'm really not sure because no one else has mentioned this.
Okay, hatred towards other people, yes. No. It's so weird. I don't know. There's a thing. By the way, the first thing I always wonder is, why do you care? That's kind of what I was...
That's kind of what I'm wondering. Why do you care? You know, what some comedian thinks about a topic that doesn't involve you.
Point out at first. Why do you care? I have opinions about what people do with their lives and how they do it and what car they bought, because I'm a car person. But why do I care enough to then go on stage or even say, I have a level of platform here, go on the show and be like, you know what? People who drive Priuses just need to stop it. That's what I feel, because I think Priuses are useless to a degree for what I like to do with cars. But if someone decides to do that with their life, why is that?
Which car you buy is not the same level of life choice as deciding to present as the opposite sex. Wow.
Sticking in my chest, like, I gotta say it.
It's literally what you're doing right now.
Why is that so important to you? Why is it so important to you what someone does with their life?
See, and Dave actually does explain this, okay? He goes on to tell a story about a trans woman who was his friend, who stuck up for him after his last special, you know, when he got in so much trouble with the trans community. And they just were merciless to this person to the point that they took their own life. This person's own community tormented them to that extent that they were that just, I don't know, miserable. It wasn't, you know, the outside world that did it to them. It was the trans community. So he, you know, and the trans community has done this to a couple of black people who he cares about. And he brings that up too. So his final thought is, you know, stop punching down on my people, he says. And quite frankly, I found it, you know, a bit moving because he seemed to really mean it. He seemed to be really upset at the way that all of this is affecting people that he personally knows and cares about. That's why he weighed in on it. He does explain it in some depth and that pretty great length, really. It's basically the entire last quarter of the special, which y'all did not watch.
With their life. And if you think they made a mistake and they chopped off some genitalia and oh my God, you're never getting that back again, bro. Why are you thinking about it?
Why did you mention genitalia? Literally no one has mentioned that. Okay, that's not true. He said that you come out of a vagina. But, like, no one's mentioned it, bro. I don't know. The accusation of being preoccupied with genitals is projection, I think.
Care what's between their legs? Why do you care who their partner is? Why do you care how they have a child? Why do you care how they cut their hair and what clothes they wear and what color it is and what shoes it is and what underwear they put on and what name they give themselves? Why does that matter to you? Do you go to bed? Go for the millions of people who are trans? Probably, I can't give you the full number. So
because you did no research on this whatsoever.
You go to bed every night and think about every one of them before you can go to sleep. How dare he? Oh, how dare she? Oh, how dare he? How dare she? What a miserable life. Why can't you just go about your life. It's
like he explains that, and you going on and on and on like this just makes you look like a complete ignoramus.
so hard. It's so much harder to care about someone else's life when you've got yours to live. And you were doing pretty good, by the way. So why are we still thinking about other folks?
It's such a...
Yeah, how dare a comedian make social commentary? JR, what are you saying? You guys are making real asses of yourselves here by insisting on weighing in on this without doing any critical thinking or any research, I think, at all, besides watching these clips, really.
great point. And I'll add one last
No,
thing
it's not
to
a
it.
great point. That's an awful point because you didn't watch it.
Keep saying that you know what they think better than they do. What a weird claim, right?
He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that. He doesn't even say trans women aren't women. He actually goes out of his way to say that they are, confusingly, because I say Dave Chappelle also demonstrates his ignorance on this topic, right? The dogs are out because it's the middle of the day, so it's going to be a little more noisy around here than usual. But you guys have also projected a lot of thoughts onto Dave Chappelle based on like 5 minutes of video. So, I could ask you all the same question.
I like the Steelers. No, you don't. How do you know?
That's an
but
opinion.
I do like the Steelers. No, you don't.
I'm a woman is not an opinion.
What a bizarre thing, right? What an insane thing to say.
It would be, yeah. No one is. No one is saying that.
Structured around the Steelers. No, you didn't.
Why would you do that?
No, that's because I really like the Steelers. No, it's all a trick.
How in the fuck is that a valid comparison?
It's absurd. And there isn't something wrong with trans people. There's something wrong with people who are obsessed with denying their reality.
All right. What they believe is demonstrably unreal. Okay? And you've demonstrated a couple of different ways that that's true here. One of the main ones being you keep conflating the concept of social roles, i.e. gender, with reproductive role, i.e. sex. Okay? They are two separate things. One of them is a heck of a lot easier to change than the other, which you can't, because every single cell of your body, Chank, has a Y chromosome in it.
And they should get counseling. That's all. Thanks for watching the Young Turks.
Yeah, I mean, really, everybody should get counseling, right? I mean, really, that should just be part of growing up, because growing up is fucking hard. Puberty sucks. Society is shit. And we're all pushed into some box or another that we don't necessarily want to be in. So really, probably everybody should get therapy, right? There's a thought. So yeah, that's been our little visit with the Young Turks. I'm kind of disappointed that Anna wasn't in this episode because I like her and I would have loved to argue with her even, remotely at a parasocial distance. But this was good too. I just had to do this. Because like I keep saying, welcome to the party, guys. You're very late. Okay? And y'all have just demonstrated over and over and over again that not only have you not actually been paying attention to any of this, but you didn't even watch the special that you're bitching about. Like, my God. If I'm going to, give my layman's opinion on something, I at least go to the source material just as a matter of principle. Because, what the hell? You don't want to be accidentally caught out saying something that exposes your just bald-faced ignorance on the topic, would you, JR? My gosh. So, yeah, I think, and this is just going to, I hope this keeps on going. Really, I hope more and more mainstream people keep taking up these bullshit talking points that we have been arguing against for years, because we can each just kind of pick our favorite and rip them apart. Doesn't that sound fun? Like this video if you enjoyed this. subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this. And I'm going to go look for some more stuff to show you guys and bitch about. See you later.